Hello friends, now in this lecture we will look into the physiological role of autonomic nervous system in our body and also briefly about its regulation. Now as I have told earlier also that the main function of the autonomic nervous system it is to help in maintaining the homeostasis in our body. That means to maintain the internal environment of our body. And you also know that the two major important systems that are concerned with the maintaining this homeostatic mechanism in our body are one is the autonomic nervous system and second is it is the endocrine system. Okay, so which the autonomic nervous system basically it works instantly. So whenever there is a change in the body environment, then autonomic nervous system it will active instantly and it will help to maintain that. Okay, while the endocrine system it is quite slower process to maintain the homeostasis. So now here, as far as the autonomic nervous system is concerned, both the sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic system, they will work together to help maintaining this homeostasis. So the sympathetic nervous system basically it is also known as a fight or a flight response, as it will become more active when the body experiences stress. That means when you are under stress, the sympathetic system will be predominant, it will be active, while the parasympathetic system basically it is associated with restoring and conserving the energy. That means it is mainly active when you are in a rest or you are in a relaxed condition. So it is in charge of the processes which do not require immediate reaction, like that of the digestion. So when you are in a relaxed condition, this parasympathetic system will be predominant and it will help to conserve the energy. So in short, both these divisions of the autonomic nervous system, it will help to maintain the homeostasis. So these two figures, cartoon figures showing the main role of both this division in maintaining the homeostasis. So the sympathetic system, it is mainly concerned with the fight or a flight reaction. So when you are under a stressful situation, whether it may be physical or a mental stress, at that time body will either fight against that situation or body will fly. So that is because of this sympathetic system. So under stressful condition, the sympathetic system will become a predominant and it will help to maintain the homeostasis. While the parasympathetic system, it is basically active during a rest when you are relaxed. So it will help in the digestive process during that time. So it is a type of the conserving system of a conserving energy. So I will discuss both the system, the role of the sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic system in detail in further slides. So starting with the role of the sympathetic division to maintain the homeostasis in our body, or simply the physiological role of the sympathetic system in our body. So as I've told, it is a type of the fight or a flight system. That means when this will become active, person will either fight against that situation or he will fly. So this cartoon picture show either you will fight against that situation. Depending on the stressful situation, whether you can handle it or not, you will fight or you will fly away from that particular situation. So this sympathetic division basically its activity involves a type of the E activity. So these are type of the mnemonics E activities that includes the excitement, exercise, emergency, and embarrassment. Okay. So during this situation, the sympathetic system will become active, and it is a system of the energy utilization. So whenever the sympathetic system will become active, there will be a lot of energy utilization, use of lot of the energy. So it promotes the adjustment during the exercise. So it is a type of the physical stress during exercise the sympathetic system will, for example, it will change the blood flow to the various organs. So like if you are doing exercise, then blood flow to the muscles, skeletal muscles will increase, while the blood flow to the certain organs like kidney and the GI tract it will decrease. So it will help to adjust the blood flow depending on the need. And the role of this sympathetic system it is well illustrated in a person who is threatened. That means the person who is in a stressful situation, in that case you can see the role of the sympathetic system and the various physiological changes during that. So it is a situation that is known as alarm or a stress responses. So during alarm or a stress response, you will find the various changes that are because of the stimulation of this sympathetic division. So now this alarm or stress response or a stress reaction is basically the initial symptoms that our body experiences when we are under stress. So when we are having a physical or a mental stress, at that time certain initial symptoms that are experienced in our body, that is a alarm or a stress response. Okay? So it is an increase in ability of body to perform a vigorous muscular activity. So this alarm or a stress response, it will basically prepare you to either fly from that situation, stressful situation, or to fight against that situation. Okay, so the physiological response to this reaction, alarm or a stress response, it is a flight or a fight reaction. That means either you will go away from that situation or you will fight against that situation. So whenever there is a stressful conditions, the higher center will give command to the hypothalamus. Okay, and this from the hypothalamus, through this hypothalamo-pituitary axis, it will stimulate the adrenal medulla, from where there will be release of the adrenaline as well as the cortisol. And in addition to that, the hypothalamus will also stimulate the sympathetic nervous system to release the epinephrine. Okay, and all that neurotransmitters, epinephrine as well as norepinephrine, they will stimulate or they will do their activity or respective organs. Like over the lungs, they will cause the dilation of bronchi. Over the liver, they will increase the uh, breakdown of the glycogen to the glucose. It will also increase the lipid breakdown. Then it will increase the heart rate, and also its contraction. It will cause the constriction of the blood vessel to increase the blood pressure, like that. So these are the various changes that will seen when the sympathetic nervous system will be activated, and that is mainly seen during an alarm or a stress response. So these are the various stages of this stress response or a fight or a flight response. So whenever you are under any stress, physical or mental, whether it is excitement or emotion or anxiety or exercise, so initially the person will be stressed. So that is known as alarm stage. So it will dearrange your homeostasis or a cellular balance. So there will be imbalance in the homeostasis. It will be disturbed. So the next stage is a resistance stage. Either you will fight against that, you will resist by fighting against them, that situation, or you will run away. So here the body fights back by adjusting to the stress. And finally the exhaustion stage. But if you are resting after this stage, then there will be enhancement of the adaptation. But even after fighting or flying, if there is a no rest, then there will be a severe exhaustion in the form of the overtraining, injury, or the lack of adaptation, and the person will become a severely lethargic. So these are the various stages of this stress or alarm response. Now, various physiological changes that are seen when the sympathetic nervous system is stimulated, or the physiological changes that are seen during an alarm or a stress response. So the important changes that we will see here, the most important here is increase in the heart rate. Heart rate will increase. Similarly, the breathing will be also become rapid and deep. Then skin is a cold and sweaty, so there will be a lot of the sweat, and there will be also dilatation of the pupil. Then arterial blood pressure will increase because of the vasoconstriction. Then there will be increase in the blood flow to active muscle with decrease in the blood flow to the organs like GI tract and the kidney. So there will be a diversion of the blood flow. Certain organs like skeletal muscles who are in active condition, they will require more blood flow. So blood flow will increase there because of the vasodilation, while the blood flow to these tissues, GI and kidney, it will decrease due to the vasoconstriction there. Then there will be increase in the rate of the metabolism. So metabolism of most of the nutrients, carbohydrate, fat, or a protein, it will increase after the sympathetic stimulation. So because of all these changes, increase in the metabolism of all the tissues, and also increase in the heart rate and the blood pressure, all that will consume the lot of the energy. This sympathetic nervous system is also called as a catabolic system. So it is a very important comment, many times asked, why the sympathetic nervous system is called as a catabolic system. So that is because the sympathetic stimulation will lead to increase in the rate of metabolism as well as the increase in the heart rate, arterial blood pressure, etc. That will cause a energy utilization. And certain other features, like there will be increase in the blood glucose because of the glycolysis in the skeletal muscle and also glycogenolysis in the liver. So that will increase the glucose in the blood. Then there will be increase in the glycolysis in the liver and muscle, that will again help to lead increase blood glucose. Then there will be increase in the muscle strength. Epinephrine will increase the muscle strength. Then there will be also increase in the mental activity. So there will be excitement, CNS stimulation. And there will be also increase in the rate of the blood coagulation. So these figures show all these various features whenever there is a stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. So these are the symptom or physiological changes in our body during a fight or a flight response. So just you can look at this figure. Now then, coming to the role of a parasympathetic division or a parasympathetic nervous system. So it is a concern with the keeping body energy use low. So this is a system of a energy restoration. So sympathetic system will use the energy, while this parasympathetic system will help to restore the energy. So it is also called as anabolic nervous system. Unlike that of the sympathetic, that is called as a catabolic, where it is causing a breakdown of the nutrients. This parasympathetic, it is also called as anabolic system, because it will decrease the energy use and it will help to restore the energy. And basically this parasympathetic system, it is working mainly during the rest. When you are in a relaxed condition, this system will work, and thus it will help in repair and renovation of the body systems. So it involves the various D activities rather, that is the digestion, defecation and the diuresis. So when you are relaxed, especially after meal, the parasympathetic system is a predominant and it works for the digestion. It will help in the digestion. And it is also concerned with the defecation. So that you will learn during the defecation reflex. Once your rectum is filled with the stool, at that time through the parasympathetic system there will be a reflex that will increase the peristalsis and cause a defecation. Similarly the diuresis, that means it will help in the micturition. So parasympathetic system, it is concerned with the micturition reflex. It will help in a emptying of the urinary bladder. Okay. So in short, it is concerned with the D activities, that is digestion, defecation and the diuresis. So its activity, it is well illustrated in a person who relaxes after a meal. So when you are in a resting condition, the effect of the parasympathetic system, it is a predominant. So when you are in a relaxed condition, especially after meal, because of the parasympathetic predominance, the blood pressure, heart rate and the respiratory rate, they will decrease, they are low. Then the GI tract, its activity will become high. That means it will help to have a digestion and also help in a defecation whenever there is a needed. And the skin becomes warm and decrease in the sweating there will be. And also the pupils will be constricted. There will be narrowing of the pupil, unlike the dilatation seen with the sympathetic stimulation. So these are the various physiological changes seen during the parasympathetic stimulation. So it is mainly concerned with the restoration of the energy. So it will keep our body energy in a low use. So now I hope that you are clear about the role of the sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic system in our body, how they will help to maintain the homeostasis. What are the various physiological changes seen during their stimulation. So now here we will just see an overview regarding the differences between sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. Okay. So most of the thing regarding both this division we have discussed already. Its anatomy, physiological anatomy, its various effect, neurotransmitters and various receptors, and what is the role, already we have discussed this, and just overview regarding the difference between both these divisions. So first is the sympathetic nervous system. It is also known as a thoracolumbar division. That means the preganglionic fiber of this system emerges from the thoracic and the lumbar segment of the spinal cord, while this parasympathetic nervous system, it is also called as a craniosacral division, where its preganglionic fiber arise from the cranial part, that means brainstem, and the sacral division of the spinal cord. Second is the ganglia. So in the sympathetic nervous system, ganglia are present near the spinal cord, while here in the parasympathetic nervous system, the ganglia, they are mainly present near its effector organ, that means near the target tissue. Then Preganglionic fiber in the sympathetic nervous system are a short, while here in the parasympathetic the preganglionic fiber are a long because of the placement of the ganglia. Then postganglionic fiber, they are long in the sympathetic nervous system while they are short, very short in certain tissue in the parasympathetic nervous system. Then the preganglionic fiber release the acetylcholine, and the postganglionic fiber at most of the site they will release the norepinephrine in case of the sympathetic division. So there may be acetylcholine or the norepinephrine secretion in the form of the neurotransmitter here, while the parasympathetic nervous system the neurotransmitter will remain same acetylcholine at both the end, either the preganglionic end or the postganglionic end, both will release the acetylcholine. Then the receptors in the sympathetic nervous system are of two types broadly, alpha and beta. Again, they are subclassified that we have discussed already. While the receptor type in the parasympathetic system are broadly two types, nicotinic and muscarinic. Again, they are subclassified that we already discussed. Then other difference, the sympathetic nervous system, it is concerned with the fight or a flight reaction. So it is also known as a fight or a flight system. So it is working during a stressful conditions, whether it is physical or mental stress, while the parasympathetic system, it is concerned with keeping body energy use low. So when we are in a relaxed condition or we are in a resting condition, at that time the parasympathetic system will work predominantly. Then sympathetic nervous system, it involves the E activities that are concerned with the stressful situation like exercise, excitement, emergency or embarrassment. But here the parasympathetic system, it is concerned with the D activities that are seen during a resting condition. So that D4 stands for the digestion, defecation and diuresis. That means here it is a micturition. Then the sympathetic nervous system promotes adjustment during exercise. So when we are exercising, at that time the sympathetic nervous system, it will adjust the blood flow. So the blood flow to the muscle will be increased while the blood flow to the other organs like a GI tract, kidney, etc., it will decrease. And last important difference is that the sympathetic system activity, it is illustrated by a person who is threatened. So you can well see the various physiological changes of a sympathetic nervous system when a person is threatened. That means person is under a stressful situation. While in the parasympathetic nervous system, its activity is well illustrated in a person who relaxes, who is in a resting condition, specifically after a meal. So clear? So these are the important differences in general between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, the two divisions of the autonomic nervous system. Then something about the dual innervation. Dual means certain or most of the organs, they are receiving both the type of the fiber, sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic. So most of viscera receives nerve fibers from both the parasympathetic and the sympathetic divisions. Okay, and both the divisions do not normally innervate an organ equally. And there are certain features regarding this dual innervation, of which one is the antagonistic effect and second is a cooperative effect between this sympathetic and the parasympathetic division to certain organs. Okay, so that we will see briefly here. So one is the antagonistic effect of both these divisions of the ANS. So this is exerted through a dual innervation of the same effector. Okay, एक ही organ पे दोनों की innervation है, but the effect will be opposite. As for example, over the heart, the sympathetic parasympathetic stimulation will decrease the heart rate, but on the other hand, the sympathetic stimulation, it will increase the heart rate. So over the same tissue, both are having a opposite effect. They are acting over the same cell. Second is the antagonistic effect exerted because each divisions innervate different cells. एक ही organ को दोनों supply कर रहे हैं, but the cells are different. दोनों अलग अलग cells को they are exciting and they will have an opposite effect. As for example, the pupil. Pupil is a structure where there are two types of the muscle: pupil dilator muscle and constrictor pupillae muscle. Okay, so the sympathetic system will stimulate the pupil dilator muscle, so it will cause the dilatation of the pupil, while the parasympathetic stimulation over same structure, that means pupil, it will cause the stimulation of a constrictor pupil muscle, so it will cause the constriction of the pupil. So here the antagonistic effect, but through a different cells. Then cooperative effect of both this division, that means they are working in a cooperation. So one, it is seen when the two divisions act different on the different effectors to produce a unified effect. effect will be cooperative. So as for example, the parasympathetic increase the salivary serous cell secretion, while the sympathetic will increase salivary mucus cell secretion. So both these systems are increasing the salivary secretion, but one is concerned with the more of the watery secretion, while another sympathetic is concerned with the more of the mucoid type of the secretion. So it is a type of the cooperative effect over the salivary glands. Then another is this both the divisions work in cooperation in the control of the external generator. It is the best example of the cooperation between these two divisions. Okay. So here the parasympathetic fibers causes a vasodilation and are responsible for erection of penis and the clitoris. So the parasympathetic system, it is concerned with the erection of the external genitalia, while the sympathetic fibers, it will help to ejaculate the semen in case of the male, while the reflex peristalsis in case of the female. So here both the system are exciting the external genitalia but in a different way. So that is the type of the cooperative effect between these two divisions. Okay. So this is about the dual innervation and its effect over the tissues. Then finally coming to the regulation of the autonomic nervous system that already we have discussed briefly in the initial lectures. So just we will again see some important aspect regarding the regulation of the autonomic nervous system. So autonomic reflexes control most of the activity of the visceral organs, glands and the blood vessels. And these autonomic reflex activities, they are influenced by the hypothalamus and the certain higher brain center. But it is the hypothalamus that has an overall control over the autonomic nervous system. Okay. So hypothalamus is the main ganglion that controls the autonomic nervous system. Okay. So here first we'll discuss briefly about the very now some important aspect regarding this autonomic reflexes, and then we'll discuss how the hypothalamus and other brain structure will control the autonomic nervous system. Okay. Now many visceral functions of our body are basically regulated by these autonomic reflexes. Okay. And detail about this individual autonomic reflexes you will learn with the individual organ system. Okay. But here some of the important reflex that we will see briefly. So which one is the cardiovascular autonomic reflexes? Now reflex, I think you are aware about that. So reflex, it is basically a motor effect to any sensory stimulation. Whenever there is sensory stimulation, that sensory impulse will go to the central nervous system, either in the spinal cord or in the brain or in the brainstem, from where the motor effect or motor impulse will innervate to the respective structure and it will stimulate that structure. So that is a reflex. So in the autonomic reflex, one type of reflex are the cardiovascular autonomic reflex that are mainly concerned with the control of the blood pressure as well as the heart rate. Okay. So which one of the most important reflex, that is the baroreceptor reflex. So just I will tell you briefly, otherwise you have learned or you will learn with the regulation of the cardiovascular system. Okay. So baroreceptor reflex basically is concerned with the regulation of blood pressure and the heart rate. So whenever there is an increase in the heart rate or blood pressure, these baroreceptors, so that are kind of the stretch receptors present within the large vessels, wall of the large arterial vessels like a arch of aorta or in the carotid arteries. So the stretching of this receptor within that wall, whenever there is increased blood pressure or a heart rate, it will initiate a sensory impulse that will reach to the brainstem, and from the brainstem the certain impulses that will inhibit the sympathetic nervous system while stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So decreased sympathetic, that will have a that will cause a decreased stimulation of the heart, while increased parasympathetic stimulation, it will cause the inhibition over the heart. Okay. So it will cause a decrease in the heart rate as well as the blood pressure. Okay. So that is one autonomic reflex. Then some type of the GI autonomic reflexes concerned with the control of the GI tract function, of which one is the digestive juice secretion. So you are aware about the salivary secretion, gastric secretion, like that. Okay. So many times you have seen that whenever you have a smell of a delicious food, or the food it is present within the oral cavity, so at that time there will be a increase in the salivary secretion as well as the increase in the gastric secretion. So that is a type of the autonomic reflex. So presence of the food in the mouth or a smell of that food, it will lead to the sensory impulse that will pass on from the nose and the oral cavity through the 10th and the 9th cranial nerve, vagus and the glossopharyngeal nerve, to the salivatory nuclei that are present in the brainstem. And from that, there will be a impulse, stimulatory impulse through the parasympathetic nervous system or a parasympathetic nerves that will stimulate the secretions or a secretory glands present within the mouth as well as the stomach. So that will cause increase in the salivary secretion as well as the gastric juice secretion. Then defecation reflex. So it is again a type of the autonomic reflex, mainly the parasympathetic reflex, when there will be a presence of the stool in the rectum, or the rectum is filled with the stool. At that time, the stretching of the rectum, it will lead to a sensory impulse to the sacral segment of the spinal cord. And from the sacral segment of the spinal cord via the sacral parasympathetic fibers, the impulse will reach to the distal colon, distal portion of the colon, and that will lead to the peristalsis of the colon, and that peristaltic wave that will lead to the voiding of the stool. So that is a defecation. Then another important example, it is a micturition reflex. Again, the pathway is similar to that of the defecation reflex. So whenever the urinary bladder is filled, the sensory impulse pass on to the sacral segment of the spinal cord, from where the sacral parasympathetic fibers, it will innervate the detrusor muscle to contract it, and it will relax the urethral sphincter. So that will lead to the voiding of the urine. So that is a micturition. Then certain sexual reflexes. So already we have discussed previously also, by parasympathetic stimulation, it will lead to the erection of the external genitalia, maybe it a penis in the male or a clitoris in the female. While the sympathetic stimulation, it will lead to the ejaculation. So that are the types of the sexual reflexes. Then certain other autonomic reflexes that may be in the form of the that of the pancreatic secretion. So increased pancreatic secretion, it is also a type of the autonomic reflex. Then gallbladder emptying, it is again a type of the autonomic reflex. Then sweating, increased blood glucose level, that are the examples of certain other autonomic reflexes. So detail you will learn, or you have learned, with the respective organ system. So this about the autonomic reflexes. Then coming to the levels of ANS control, again we have briefly seen previously also. So as I have told, the hypothalamus, it is the main integration center of the autonomic nervous system activity. So it is the main controller of the ANS. It also receives a subconscious cerebral input via the limbic system, and that is connected to the hypothalamus. Certain other controls come from the cerebral cortex, reticular formation, and the spinal cord, also to the autonomic nervous system. So most important is the hypothalamic control. So there are various centers that are present in the hypothalamus that are concerned with the control of various functions, including the activity of the autonomic nervous system. So hypothalamic centers concerned with the control of the various heart activities, then control blood pressure, then body temperature, water balance, endocrine activities, then certain emotional stages like rage, pleasure, and various biological drives. And also it responds to the reactions to fear and the fight or flight system. So hypothalamus, it is overall control for the autonomic nervous system. Okay. And this figure shows the various levels. Okay. Starting from the cerebral cortex, then via the limbic system, it will connect it to the hypothalamus, and that is the main integration center controlling the ANS. So this is also called as the BOSH of the ANS. So mainly the hypothalamus will receive the input from the higher centers, maybe it from the cerebral cortex, through the limbic system, or directly from the limbic cortex. Okay. And then through the reticular formation of the brainstem, or through the controlling the spinal cord, various levels of the spinal cord, it will ultimately control the sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic divisions of the autonomic nervous system. Okay. So clear? So this briefly the important part regarding the control of the autonomic nervous system and the autonomic reflexes. Okay. So with this, I conclude this lecture and hope you understand all these things. And now in the next lecture of the autonomic nervous system, I will tell you about the pharmacological portion with regards to the autonomic nervous system, and also the important applied aspect of the autonomic nervous system. Thank you.